Now in this lecture, let's try to discuss about the implicit grant type, which is a less secured compared to authorization code grant type. As you can see, these are the flows that will happen in between the different components involved inside the OAuth2 framework. The only difference between the authorization code grant type and implicit grant type is at step 3, where we are making a request to authorization server to generate a token, we have only single step, whereas previously we made two steps. One is to get the authorization code, next again to get the access token. But here you can see in the third step itself, once user proves his identity, we will get the access token immediately to the client. Let's try to discuss one more time in the same Stack Overflow scenario. Again, I just wanted to reiterate, in today's OAuth2 world, no enterprise auth servers, especially like Google or Facebook or GitHub, Twitter, they are not allowing to use implicit grant type due to the reason that it is less secured compared to authorization code grant type. But just for our understanding purpose, let's try to discuss the same scenario one more time. At the very first step, as an user, as a resource owner, I'll go to the Stack Overflow website, which is a client, and I'll tell to Stack Overflow I want to sign up or log in inside your application so that I can use extra features that you are providing to me. Next, in the step 2, client will ask to the user, okay, you prove your identity to the auth server, and you also tell the auth server that you are fine to share your basic resource details from its resource server, post your identity proving to the auth server. Once user proved his identity to the Google Auth server by entering his Gmail credentials, the auth server will send a token, which is like access token, by redirecting to the URL mentioned in the request by the client. Finally, in the step 5, the client will make a request to the resource server by sending a access token that it is received in the previous step and requested some basic resources that I have, like my last name, first name, email details, etc. Once the token is validated by the resource server by contacting auth server, resource server will share the protected resource details that client is requesting in the step 6. With this, the entire flow will complete and the authentication and authorization of the user will be successful. If you can observe, in step 3, client has to send the following details to the auth server in order to get an access token. One is the client ID, which it received from the Google during its registration initially. Second one is the redirect URI, the URI where the redirection has to happen post successful authentication. Third one is a scope similar to our authorities. Fourth one is the state, which is used to avoid CSRF attacks. And the fifth one, which is very important, response type, where you have to tell with the value token instead of code. In the previous authorization code grant type, we mentioned this value as code, but now we are saying token, which indicates that I don't want to have a code in between. I directly want to generate a token by using implicit grant type. Once the user proves his identity, the authorization server will redirect user to the URI where the client want to be, along with the token inside the fragment part of the URL. For example, the user will be redirected back to the following kind of URL that you can imagine. The primary difference you can easily identify here is there is no client secret here involved. That means anyone who identifies the client ID of the Stack Overflow in the browser address bar, they can take and they can make a request to the authorization server. But of course, they can't have my Gmail credentials because as an user, I only have it and I'll enter in the Gmail login page only, but not in the request that client is making to the authorization server. But still, it is less secure. There is chances like someone can impersonate like Stack Overflow or any other web application. But you can ask, why do have such implicit grant type inside OAuth2 flow if it is less secure? But this is a savior for the applications where they have only UI, like they have only HTML, JavaScript code, but they don't have any backend like blogs where they can't save the client secret on some backend server. everything, all of their code is exposed inside the browser. Due to that reason, if someone want to leverage OAuth2, they can still use the implicit grant type, but at the same time, the auth server that they are going to communicate has to allow it. Otherwise, they can't use it. But there are some applications where if they have only JavaScript and HTML UI code, they are using implicit grant type so that they can still be able to follow the OAuth2 framework. So with this, I'm hoping that you understand what's the difference between implicit grant type and authorization code grant type. And at the same time, I'm assuming that you are now comfortable to choose which one based upon the scenario that you have. Let's try to discuss about the next grant type, which is resource owner credentials type grant type, in the next video. Thank you and bye.